One of the most effective ways to wake sleepy glutes is to work them in positions that they're designed to work in, like hip extension and hip abduction. And if you're hypermobile, muscle isolation is also incredibly important. One of the best ways to isolate the gluteals and stabilize the pelvis is doing prone hip extension work. This is a great way to rebalance hip extensors and hip flexors, and working our hips in extension is also a way to naturally lengthen short hip flexors. Because exercise is a combination of movement patterns, you can do prone style leg extensions in a number of different ways. Let me show you. Making sure that we're breathing properly when we exercise is incredibly important. And so the first thing that I want to just really quickly touch on are breathing cues for these movements. For all of the variations I'm going to show you, you would exhale as you lift, engage, or exert effort, and only hold isometrically if you can breathe with your core engaged, which is lateral breathing. Otherwise, you're going to exhale as you lift and you're going to inhale as you lower. Or to shorten it, exhale on the effort. And you also may not see a whole lot of lift for all of these variations because remember, the key to isolation is generally small movement. And ultimately, the higher we lift, the more likely we are to be lifting with our lumbar spine instead of our actual glutes. Our hips can only go into extension at maximum 30 degrees. The first variation are prone leg lifts with neutral hips. This means that the kneecaps and the tops of the feet are facing the floor. For this, in any of these prone positions, we want to make sure to gently tuck the pelvis as we're doing the work. This is going to protect our lumbar spine and help to make sure that we keep our hips in extension. The primary targets of this particular variation are the gluteus maximus and the hamstrings. If you have externally rotated hips, this is a variation that you may want to opt to do a little bit more of to help you rebalance. The second variation are prone leg lifts with externally rotated hips. This means I've rotated my leg at the hip socket so that my knees and my toes are gently facing outward. The degree to which your body's going to do this is going to be different than mine. The primary targets of this one are the gluteus medius and minimus and your external hip rotators, including the piriformis muscle. This variation can be effective for folks who struggle to activate their glute medius and minimus, or if you struggle with your hamstrings cramping. And you may want to opt to do a little bit more of this variation if you have internally rotated hips as a way to help you rebalance. The third variation are prone hamstring lifts. This is very similar to the first variation. The only difference is that the knee is bent. But because our hamstrings have two jobs, to bend our knees and to help pull our leg behind us, they are the primary target of this movement, with the glute maximus helping. You may want to opt for this variation if you have lengthened hamstrings for any reason, like an anterior pelvic tilt. But definitely skip this one if your hamstrings cramp easily. The fourth variation is a prone leg lift with externally rotated hips. A lot of people would call these frog pumps, I believe. This variation is going to primarily target your glute maximus, medius, and minimus, as well as those external rotators. This is also a really nice way to lengthen the hip flexors. The fifth variation is to add support underneath your pelvis for any of these other variations. You can use a wedge pillow like I'm using. You can use a small Pilates ball. You can use a pillow. I mean, literally anything you have that works. This is going to help to reduce lumbar strain. This is also really helpful if you do have tight or short hip flexors from an anterior pelvic tilt or for any other reason. This puts your hips into flexion as a natural starting point, which allows you to tuck your pelvis into that supported surface below you and then begin to activate your gluteals sooner than you would be able to if you were lying on the floor. So you're going to be able to activate your gluteals while you're still technically in hip flexion because you're tucking into that surface below you. The sixth variation is to do any of these movements from a supported position but in high plank. An exercise ball is a great way to do this. This progression increases the challenge for your deep core and your scapulothoracic area. And the ball still provides a really nice surface for you to be able to tuck your pelvis into comfortably. The seventh is a variation of locust pose with my shoulders externally rotated, and I'm holding a small Pilates ball in between my calves. This is a progression that works the entire posterior chain, not only working our gluteals and our hamstrings, but also working our back extensors, thoracic spine, deep rotator cuff muscles, and this one adds in the hip adductors by gently squeezing that ball. The eighth and last variation I'm going to show you are supported high plank leg lifts using resistance bands. Depending on what variation you're doing, this is going to increase the challenge to those primary target muscles. And last, I'm going to leave you with something that I say to my clients. There is no award for overly engaging your muscles. So please, when you get into that tuck, when you start to feel your glutes engage and isolate, do not continue trying to lift your leg. You will end up hurting your lumbar spine. The only awards we get for showing off like that are pain and injuries. Please let me know in the comments if you found this helpful. And also please like, subscribe, do all the things. It really helps the channel and make sure that these videos can find the people who need to see them. I'll see you back here for the next one, Bendy Friendies.